What's up everybody, it's me E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and today we're gonna review The Irishman. Alright, let's do a quick intro. War veteran Frank Sheeran, a hustler and a hitman, recalls the events of his life working alongside Jimmy Hoffa. Well, enough of that, let's get to the good.
The good.
One of the best and unquestionable highlights for The Irishman is going to come from the many solid performances that we got from the cast. Robert De Niro, aka Frank Sheeran, was at his best thanks to the writing. De Niro's delivery was stellar and very effective in making the emotional moments in the film potent. It took a while to warm up to De Niro's character, but I think he shined the best when we began to see the latter part of his life. His interactions with his family, in contrast to his actions, were exceptional in their development. I loved how we were able to see his inner conflict as he reconciled with the events of his life and the effects thereafter. When it came to Al Pacino, he was captivating as Jimmy Hoffa. I can't personally speak to how close of a portrayal or imitation Pacino was to capture Jimmy Hoffa, but what I can say is that Pacino's performance was believable enough to convince me of Hoffa's charisma and appeal. Pacino put his acting range on display when we got to see the different sides of his character's professional and personal life. Ultimately, his performance made his character much more relatable. Next up, I think the real scene stealer was Joe Pesci. In a modest and silent manner, Pesci was able to steal a scene by quietly uttering things like, "It is what it is." He delivered a performance that was able to both embrace and emote the power and presence of his character's legend. Surprisingly, he wasn't as eccentric or over the top with his acting as he's been in previous roles, so to see him pull this bit of a 180 was pretty refreshing. Now, the acting in this movie was definitely aided by a strong plot and some really good directing by Martin Scorsese. Scorsese had a goal of telling a human story in the film, and I believe he accomplished that goal. I found it interesting to not only see the dramatic situations unfold in Frank's life, but to also see the ramifications of his decisions. The story did a fine job of showing how friendship, loyalty, betrayal, and so many other themes can all impact the lives of the main characters and those around them. Many of those themes resonated throughout The Irishman, and their manifestations were quite effective. De Niro and Pacino have some great moments in the film together that capture those themes, and when they play out, it's hard not to feel the emotion that audiences were intended to feel. Outside of that, Scorsese gave us an inside look of the Italian mafia life and its inner workings. While that was intriguing to see, I think the focus on the single man's life and his decisions were both the real bread and butter to The Irishman. Alright, enough of that, let's move on to the bad.
The bad.
Now, I'll be honest, I was not a fan of the pacing of this movie because it seemed like there were so many things that could have easily been cut out. The Irishman is long and you feel every lingering minute of it. For one, the dialogue could have been cut in half had it not been for all of the double talk from the characters. Every single character had to repeat themselves, and over the course of 3.5 hours, it started to get a little annoying. Granted, maybe that's true within Italian-American mafia culture, I don't know. But for the sake of this movie, it was a chore to get through. Furthermore, some scenes simply didn't add any value to the movie itself. We had an entire scene about them talking about fish in a car. That scene just kept on going without any clear end in sight, and it certainly didn't have any substantial impact to the plot. To this film's credit, the pockets of violence and action sequences did help in picking up the pace in some way, shape, or form. Now, aside from the length of the movie, I did think that the CGI was a little bit wonky. I think this movie would have been a lot better off having younger actors do some of the youngest scenes. I also think that it would have been ideal to have a stunt double doing some of the more physical scenes for De Niro. There's an extremely cringeworthy scene with De Niro's character fighting with someone, and the whole time I was really concerned that De Niro was gonna hurt himself. In fairness, Scorsese had some good reason for wanting to do the whole de-aging visual effects in order to maintain some of the distinct mannerisms of the actors that would carry on throughout their lives. Nevertheless, the execution of the visuals felt average at best. The only thing that was de-aged was the face, while the actors' bodies still remained relatively the same. It just made for an overall odd appearance. Not the biggest deal, but just something I noticed. Anyway, let's move on to the reason.
The reason.
Despite mediocre visual de-aging effects and unnecessarily long runtime, The Irishman is an impeccable tale of life, regrets, betrayal, and friendship. I'd hardly call this a masterpiece for Scorsese, but this felt like a film that he could do in his sleep. The ensemble of De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci are more than enough reason to warrant a viewing of this film. The acting in the movie is just too good, and the story can be compelling as well. However, because this movie is a slow drama, the length of this movie is just something people are going to have to mentally prepare for before viewing. So when it comes to the rating for Irishman, I've got to give it a 7 out of 10. I think this movie was perfect to be seen on Netflix because it would have been a little bit harder of a recommendation to go see in theaters. I mean, for 3.5-hour movies, usually you want a lot of action and a lot of things to kind of keep you engaged. And with the slow drama, I don't think that really works very well sitting in the theater for that long period of time. But hey, at least if you're streaming the movie, you can pause it, take breaks, go to the bathroom, get a snack, do whatever you gotta do at your own leisure. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Let me know, what did you think about The Irishman? And if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out and come on back to this video and let me know what you thought about it. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join me. I always appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my video. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.